After 2 decades of relentless war, the warrior pharaoh Thutmose III finally sheathed his sword. The dust of countless campaigns began to settle, but the king's ambition was far from quenched. The man who had conquered nations now turned his gaze inward, to the heart of his own kingdom. The age of the warrior was over, the age of the builder had begun. It was time to transform the spoils of war into an eternal legacy, to reshape the very landscape of Egypt in his own image. This wasn't just about building monuments. It was about solidifying his divine status and ensuring that his name and the glory of Egypt would echo through eternity. He embarked on an architectural program of staggering scale. The Karnak Temple complex at Thebes, already the religious heart of the empire, was a primary focus. Thutmose ordered the construction of the 7th pylon, a monumental gateway that expanded the sacred precinct. But his most personal contribution was the Acht Menu, his festival hall. The columns within were ingeniously designed to resemble the tent poles of his military campaign tents, a permanent stone tribute to the life he had lived on the march. The walls were covered in breathtakingly detailed carvings of exotic plants and animals he had encountered on his campaigns in Syria and Nubia. He called it his botanical garden, a testament to his curiosity and a showcase of the vastness of his empire. From the northern delta to the southern reaches of Nubia, Thutmose's mark was everywhere. He erected magnificent obelisks, monolithic needles of granite pointing to the sun god Ra. 2 of the most famous, originally from Heliopolis, are now known as Cleopatra's Needles and stand today not in Egypt, but in London and New York City. Another giant stands proud in Istanbul, a testament to the far-reaching influence of his reign. Each pylon, each chapel, each statue was a declaration of power, a celebration of victory, and a prayer of gratitude to the gods who had guided his armies. Egypt was filled with monuments that screamed his name and the might of the empire he had forged. Under his rule, Egypt entered a golden age. With the borders secure and enemies subdued, peace reigned. The nation wasn't just safe, it was prosperous beyond imagination. Tribute flowed in from conquered lands in the Near East, Nubia, and the Aegean Islands. Gold, silver, ivory, exotic woods, and precious stones filled the royal treasuries. This immense wealth fueled not just his building projects, but a flourishing of arts and culture. Workshops buzzed with activity, producing exquisite jewelry, furniture, and sculptures. Tombs of nobles were decorated with vibrant paintings depicting scenes of a rich and comfortable life, a direct reflection of the stability and prosperity Thutmose had brought. Trade routes, protected by the might of the Egyptian army, stretched further than ever before. Ships from Crete and the Levant docked at Egyptian ports, their holds laden with goods, while Egyptian caravans traveled ancient roads, spreading the influence of the pharaoh. Egypt became the undisputed center of the known world, a hub of commerce, culture, and power. For the people of Egypt, Thutmose III was more than just a king. He was the protector of Maat, the divine order of the universe. He was the strong arm that kept chaos at bay. He was seen as a living god, the earthly incarnation of Horus. His military victories were seen as divine triumphs, and the prosperity of the land was a sign of his favor with the gods. He was revered, loved, and feared in equal measure. As the years passed, the warrior king aged. His hair turned gray, but his authority remained absolute. He had outlived his enemies, his rivals, and even his own co-regent, Hatshepsut, by decades. He had ruled for nearly 54 years, one of the longest reigns in Egyptian history. He had transformed a recovering kingdom into the most powerful empire the world had yet seen. Around the year 1425 BC, after a life of unprecedented achievement, the great Thutmose III, the living god, finally succumbed to mortality. The heart of the empire fell silent as the news spread. The king was dead, but in ancient Egypt, death was not an end. It was a transition, a journey to another life. And for a pharaoh of Thutmose's stature, that journey had to be magnificent. His body was carefully mummified by the royal embalmers, a sacred process designed to preserve his physical form for eternity. He was then laid to rest in the Valley of the Kings, the secluded royal necropolis on the west bank of the Nile opposite Thebes. His tomb, now known as Khv3-4, is one of the most remarkable ever discovered. It's carved high into the face of a cliff, a deliberate choice to make it difficult to access and protect it from tomb robbers. The tomb itself is unique in its design, shaped like an oval cartouche, the symbol that encircled a king's name. Its walls are unlike any other. Instead of the usual painted reliefs, the chambers are decorated to look like a giant, unrolled papyrus scroll. The stick figure style of the drawings is intentionally archaic, meant to mimic ancient sacred texts. The entire tomb is covered with the complete text of the Amduat, or the Book of What Is in the Underworld. This was a guide for the deceased king, a map for his perilous journey through the 12 hours of the night. It depicted the sun god's nightly passage through the underworld, battling monsters and forces of chaos to be reborn at dawn. By following Ra, Thutmose's spirit would also be reborn into eternal life. The paintings show Thutmose being greeted by gods and goddesses, navigating the treacherous waters of the underworld and ultimately merging with the sun god. His journey was a continuation of his life on Earth, a battle against chaos, a march towards victory. Even in death, Thutmose III was portrayed as an unstoppable force, his spirit marching into eternity with the same determination his armies had shown on the battlefield. His magnificent tomb was a testament to his belief in his own divinity, and his unshakable conviction that his reign was not over. It had simply moved to a different plane of existence. Thutmose's legacy didn't end with his burial. He left behind a stable, wealthy, and powerful empire that would dominate the region for generations. His successors, like Amenhotep II and Thutmose IV, inherited a superpower and continued his policies. His impact on Egyptian society was profound, setting a new standard for what it meant to be pharaoh. But his influence reached far beyond the borders of Egypt and the passage of time. Centuries later, when Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Egypt in 1798, his scholars were astounded by the records of Thutmose's reign. They saw in this ancient king a reflection of their own emperor, a brilliant military strategist, a master of logistics, and an empire builder. It was they who first gave him the title that has stuck with him ever since, the Napoleon of ancient Egypt. It's a fitting comparison. Thutmose III conducted at least 17 military campaigns, and by all accounts, he never lost a single battle. His strategies were revolutionary. His use of swift, decisive attacks, his understanding of supply lines, and his mastery of siege warfare were centuries ahead of their time. The detailed records of his campaigns, inscribed on the walls of the Karnak Temple, became a military textbook for future pharaohs. And incredibly, his tactics are still studied today by military historians and at military academies around the world. The warrior king's genius on the battlefield remains relevant over 3,000 years later. So, who was Thutmose III? He was the boy king who lived in the shadow of his powerful stepmother. He was the patient heir who waited 2 decades to claim his throne. He was the warrior who forged an empire with iron and blood. He was the builder who covered Egypt in monuments of gold and stone. He was the god king who was revered by his people. His is a story of ambition, patience, and absolute power. From a prince with an uncertain future to a pharaoh whose name became legend, Thutmose's story is one of the greatest ever told, a saga written across the sands of time. He didn't just rule Egypt, he defined it. Thank you so much for joining us for this journey into the life of Thutmose III. If you enjoyed this series, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which historical figure should we cover next? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.